Welcome to the Spurs News Podcast, your home for all things Tottenham Hotspur. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a new episode of the Spurs News Podcast. I am Sam. Joining me today for the second time in a week, you lucky ducks, it's Matt.
Yeah, 2 in a week, mate. I don't know about that. This is a little special treat, I think.
Yeah, I finished the last one. I was like, people, they're not going to want to hear from us again. So we'll be back like next week. But no, apparently that was wrong. So messages sort of came in like, no, don't shaft us like this. You know, last Thursday's was moved to Monday. You don't then get to move this week's as well. Come on. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then, of course, Mr. Hitchen resigns. And I thought, well, that being the case, maybe we do have some additional things to talk about. And, of course, we did record on deadline day. So at the time of recording, it was like, this is all the stuff that's supposed to be happening today. As it worked out, it did all happen exactly as I said.
The only thing that didn't happen is we didn't get a replacement for Delhi like you promised us.
No, and that's really interesting actually, because a lot of like stuff that was written and a lot of people said is like it got to about 2:00 in the afternoon and it was almost like the club couldn't get the one they wanted and just went, no, never mind then, we're still going to let him go, because there was an academy player called Harvey White who was ready to go out on loan. He's a midfielder, really talented kid, and it was, again, in the afternoon, all of that was just cancelled. It was like, we can't get in the player we want, so you ain't going nowhere, kid, because we're letting Delhi go.
Yeah.
So, it was a strange. They must have had someone in mind. They must have gone into that day with, okay, we don't know if Delhi's leaving, but if he is, this is the guy that we've got lined up. Something must have changed.
Yeah, look, this is the thing, right? So mistakenly going on social media and seeing that anger at transfer business. Me personally, and if we're all entitled to our opinions, I appreciate that. Yeah. But me personally, I was quite happy with it because we had 4 players go that weren't really, they weren't setting the world on fire. It's not like they were first 11 regulars. They were kind of floating about, and when they did play, they never really brought anything, or to some extent even it was detrimental to being on the pitch, like, I and Ndombele. And we brought a couple of very good, young, talented players. I mean, that guy, and I should know his surname by now, but hopefully I know it soon. But he scored a cracking goal for Uruguay, I think, in the first minute.
Bentancur.
Bentancur, right, there you go. Yeah. So, look, I know that's one goal, that's one game, that's what, you can't just judge someone on that. But
that's 1 minute into being a Tottenham player. That's called the Conte effect.
There you go, there you go, yeah. But you only have to look at transfer deadline day and look at West Ham, for example. Right now, West Ham, they if they'd have bought a couple of really good players, they could have really pushed on and been with a massive chance of getting Champions League football. They needed that push. Didn't sign anybody, No. And so. And Arsenal, did Arsenal sign? Arsenal didn't sign anybody either, did they?
No, Arsenal.
And they lost.
They actually spent their money getting rid of their captain.
Well, there you go. You see. So look, I know you should only focus. I appreciate, I'll just focus on ourselves, stop looking at everyone else. But at the same time, you've got to put that into some kind of context. You've got COVID that's still a thing, with a revenue that's been affected with that, and it was a quiet window. So even Man City, who love spending money, I mean, the player they bought, he's still out on loan with his team. I think it's Boca Juniors, and he looks like an amazing player, insanely good player.
Yeah,
but it's one for the future. It's not like they've bought him for this season,
It's interesting that they signed him, to be honest with you, because I mean he's a player that if you look at him and look at the like little highlight reels and the kind of listen to the talking heads about him, that this kid's the real deal, and this kid's everyone thinks could come over here and be their striker from this point on. If they've actually genuinely done that for like less than 20 million and managed to replace Aguero, not only are they a club that can spend vast money on anything they want, they've also clearly got their scouting network spot on.
Oh, completely, yeah.
Because for that amount of outlay, there isn't a Premier League team who couldn't spend that. Even the bottom club could spend that on a striker. And they've identified, watched, and then just moved really fast. And I think using that as the example, I think that's where the frustration is in Tottenham's window. Not the players in, not the players out. It kind of just feels like brinkmanship still. And what I don't get, and I've asked a lot of people who have got far more knowledge of the inner workings of me, and they all kind of do this shrug of, I don't know why this happens. And I don't get why it gets to this point. It's like, everybody knows when January is. This window doesn't jump around. Like, UEFA don't suddenly ring every club on February 1st and go, guess what? It's window time! Go, go, go! And they're all like, oh no! Oh, what are we doing? So you do prepare. And like the Man City thing, they announced that signing before the window opened. Because they did it. They identified they did it. Now, the paperwork or anything, the medicals, nothing could be done until the window opened. But you can still do deals. You can still contact clubs and say, we'd like to sign this player in the summer. You can get it all lined up. Then in the summer comes around, do the deal. And what I don't understand is why we never do that. We talked about that extract, like Glenn Hoddle talking about the club divvying. That was 20 years ago. And I have a real, not fear, but I have a real kind of feeling that we still have this kind of like bad habit of that. Like Daniel Levy managed to nail a deal once at the last minute and was like, I saved like 5 million by waiting. I'm never not waiting again. And and since then, it's like we wait. And like we talk about Dele leaving and us not being able to bring a replacement. If Dele had left earlier in the window, then obviously we'd have had time to identify someone, probably do a deal. And I do wonder if perhaps the player we had lined up was that guy from Fiorentina, the one that we were linked with constantly, whose surname I cannot pronounce, so I'm not going to try. And it was actually announced as separate on deadline day. They sold somebody else and they went, yeah, he's not leaving now. And I sort of wondered to myself, I wonder if it was him. Again, this is pure speculation from me, but I sort of think to myself, they were so confident. They put out to everybody, these two in, these guys out, but if Dele leaves, we will replace him. And it was like, okay, all right, okay, they're confident then. And then, what was his name? Ambrat or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know you mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's people screaming at the podcast right now. Come on! Call yourself a Spurs podcast?
Well, he's not a Spurs player, so we don't really need to know his name.
Yeah, exactly. Dead to me.
I think the thing is, look, and I'll go back to my point that okay, if 15 out of the 20 Premier League teams had all got their signings in on the first half of January, and there's Tottenham always leaving it to the last minute, I'd feel like that was a very strong point. But I think the fact that, like I said, West Ham try to leave it to the last minute and they've messed up. Arsenal did, other teams have, and it's a thing. It's just something that's part of it. Part of that. Whenever you hear managers talk about January transfer window, they never really talk about it in a good light, do they? They never look. No, I don't think any managers or chairman ever go, "Oh, I can't wait for the January transfer window." It's always like you need to be really like don't expect too much, And I think because
this kind of links us perfectly, whether you plan this or not, to Steve Hitchen.
Sure.
Because, of course, Steve Hitchen famously on the Amazon documentary, he actually said in this segment that everyone likes to talk about, he actually talked a lot of sense in this segment. But the thing that everybody latched onto and became a meme is the fact that Tottenham's head of recruitment, as he was at that point, hated the transfer window. And everyone's just like, what?
That's
it's literally your job, dude. That's like a cheerleader hating being cheerful. What are you doing?
Although, to be fair, Sam, I mean, yeah. I struggle to find, I think, 5 people I know who love their job.
That's a fair point, yeah. Yeah, all right, point taken, well made. But you sort of, what people latched onto was that. But what he was actually saying was, summer, you plan a strategy, you have a kind of, this is our squad, this is what we need to improve, this is who we can let go, if you like, this is the moves we need to make. And he described January as a window of opportunity, because it's very rare that a club will allow a top player to leave, etc., etc. The counter argument to that, of course, is if the price is paid and it's paid early, clubs will. You only got to look at Fiorentina, who had the best striker in Italy, the best striker in Italian football without a shadow of a doubt. And they made it quite clear to anyone interested, like, this is the money, but this is the point of no return. If you haven't agreed a deal with us by this point, at our demands, he's not going because we ain't got time to replace him, and it's January, not happening.
Yeah.
So the player was obviously like, I'd like to leave, I'd like to move on to something different. Various clubs were looking at him, but sort of priced out or felt that he was overpriced. Juventus went in and bought him. And that's it. And it's about the sort of decisiveness of, this is what we need in our team. How can we fund it and doing it? You circle back to sort of like Tottenham and funding wise. It is a very frustrating thing with Tottenham that the club do have the financial clout to compete now, ironically, as we have drifted away from being a Champions League team. And I think there are certain players around the world, don't get me wrong, I've often said this, the whole, I want to play Champions League football, but then you signed for Newcastle. Why would you do that? Oh, because they offer me $500,000 a day.
Yeah, sure.
People's Champions League aspirations vary depending on the pay wages they're getting.
How many zeros at the end of the
Exactly, yeah. My agent said I have to sign here. Why is that? Because he's bought a new yacht. I don't know if that's linked, but yeah, it is. And he's got the Toon Army written on the side of it. I don't get it. But But you do look at this situation where it's like you're looking at clubs, and the Diaz one we talked about on the last show, and it is at the moment it's accurate. We can't compete as a pulling power with Liverpool right now. But you go back 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, players would pick us over Liverpool.
I'll give you a good example, Sam. Sigurdsson. Joffrey Sigurdsson.
Yeah, it's a great example.
Do you remember Brendan Rodgers was fuming, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah, he chose us. More fool him. No, but he did. And he did choose us. And Liverpool fans were seething about that. It's like, bloody hell, how far have we fallen? And now Tottenham fans are looking at Diaz like, how far have we fallen?
Yeah.
And it goes in natural cycles like that. But right now, you got to look at it and you go, yeah, we're not looking like a Champions League team nailed on, because England is very difficult to be nailed on as a Champions League team. You'd probably, if you were to start of every season at the moment, you'd probably say Liverpool and Man City are your safe bets. But Chelsea can be as equally amazing as equally carnage in a season. That club seems to be a total yo-yo. But the thing is, like when they finish 16th, they go, "Here's 250 million, a new manager, and we're back again."
And we win the title the next season.
Yeah. That's them. They're nuts.
Yeah.
You got us. You got Man United again. I'd put in our category, kind of like. In there, maybe could there, but you'd have a couple of other clubs as well that might get it, like West Ham at the moment. So it's kind of like you'd look at that and go, well, if I got the opportunity to play Champions League football, Liverpool are more nailed on in England. Tottenham are probably not. Who's winning trophies at the moment? Yeah, and Liverpool. So that's where you're going to go. So we have to kind of look at our recruitment, I think, through a different lens to what we were before, and by that, I think we need to look at it and go, right, we are rebuilding. The players that come in from Juventus, like you pointed out, are younger, hopefully hungrier, coming in. Ndombele, Lo Celso, I mean, this is I saw someone tweet this, and I thought, wow, this puts it in perspective. Since Antonio Conte came in, Dele Alli, Tanguy Ndombele, Lo Celso and Brian Gill, of course left on loan, have started a combined 2 games in the Premier League.
Yeah, there you go. So why is everyone getting upset that they've left?
Okay, well, Tanguy and Lo Celso, I don't think anyone's that upset. I think maybe 1 or 2 people are gutted because you kind of looked at them and went, oh, they look like they were going to be so good and it's not worked. Brian Gill, even I can understand a little bit of the kind of, I don't understand that why not get him in the Championship alone? Yeah, it makes sense because he's not a starter. But going back to Spain, by the way, I watched his first game yesterday. The kid was on fire.
Wow,
he was really, really good. He played for Valencia, got him through to the semi-final of the Spanish Copa del Rey or whatever. Yeah, he looked great.
He comes on, Sam, honestly, like I've watched him at the stadium, and he comes on and it just doesn't affect the game in the slightest.
Yeah. What I'd say is I think physically he needs to develop a bit more. He needs to be a bit stronger upper body for England. I think he's got all the technical ability in the world, and in Spain you can kind of get away a little bit more being that way. but I watched him beat like 3 players with ease. And like, I was like, wow, okay, all right, come on, kid. Perhaps this loan's more about get your mojo back.
Confidence,
You've been here, you've been getting knocked around a bit. Go get your mojo back. Then we got a weight training program set for you in the summer, and we'll go from there. He's going to come out with baby-oiled arms like Adam Traore. Like, come on!
I was going to say, that's the aim. That's the physical aim.
Plan. That'd be hilarious, wouldn't it? Like this little kid, this little whippet, like Brian Gill, and he comes out looking like absolute beast mode. It's like, oh, you've learnt English now, then, Brian? Yeah, we have, yeah. Yeah.
All his hair shaved off. He's got a mohawk.
Yeah, where's me protein? Yeah, just absolute beast. Wow, okay. There's a comic strip in that, definitely. But the one I think everyone's a little bit emotional about, and it's not down to losing a phenomenal player. Like, Harry Kane leaves us. We're all going to mourn the fact that Harry Kane's left, but mourn the fact that that's 20 goals, 10 plus assists every season, and that's a massive impact on the team. Sadly, losing Dele now, after the last 2-3 seasons, isn't an impact on our team, really. He doesn't contribute like he did when he first joined. But there's an emotional attachment there, I think.
Completely, yeah.
A few people, like... And it's funny, because as the day wore on, I was fine. I was like, it's definitely the right thing for everybody. Him going to work with Lampard there could be brilliant for his career, getting it back for England. Can you imagine Dele being back on and that beautiful selection headache that gives... Southgate, just all these things. I'm like, it's worked out for everyone. So I was like really good with it. And then he did this like emotional goodbye video and notice, and I was like, okay, the room's a little bit dusty. But I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to go outside and do some hunting now. Manly. And I was like, okay, I'm okay. I'm fine. And then I saw a few people tweet like silly things, like someone said, "Oh my god, it's just hit me. I'm never going to sing the Dele Alli song again." I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Oh, okay, stop now. And then people were sharing like, because he obviously wrote in this thing about Pochettino basically giving him that confidence to play the way he liked to play.
Yeah,
which kind of it thinly veiled. No other manager has made me feel safe to be me, kind of thing, and you got that. I mean, we watched the documentary, Jose basically just like, don't make mistakes. You make a mistake, I'm going to drop you.
Yeah.
And his frustration. I mean, he summed up the Jose era in that documentary, throwing the water bottle. It's just booting it long and fucking defending. I mean, that gift still cracks me up. Yeah, and you can just see the frustration, but it's like that. That's less about, like you said, about people who are angry. I think it's not so much anger that's happened, more just kind of sad. Like that to me signalled that Pochettino team that we had for 2 seasons that all of us loved. And it's the other thing. Like, so I saw someone post that, and I saw someone reply going straight away, "Oh bloody hell, this is why Tottenham fans are rubbish. You won nothing." And then I saw the best reply ever underneath it. So we might not have won a trophy, mate, but that team in Pochettino won all of our hearts.
Yeah, completely.
And I was like, oh, what are you doing to me?
That's exactly right, though, isn't it? That's exactly right.
It is. It absolutely is. And people can scoff at that, and that's fine, but it's true.
So
we all love that team.
I agree with you. I genuinely, right, and people might listen to this and go, yeah, I disagree with you. You're only saying this to make yourself feel better. But say like was it a season and a half we had Mourinho for, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Say he did win us. Like, say he won us the League Cup. Say he stayed on for that week.
Say we won that. Yeah.
That League Cup, and maybe won us the Europa League. Maybe won us a couple of trophies. Right. I would still rather have that 2 years we had than the 2 years we had under him. I genuinely would. Yeah. And I know I'm saying that from a point of view that we didn't win the trophies. So I'm looking at Mourinho's tenure, but. I genuinely, right, think back, right, it actually makes me feel, I feel triggered thinking about some of the games I used to watch under Mourinho, right? Don't you?
Think about George Graham won us the League Cup. Would you trade that era of George Graham football for the Pochettino
There you go. That's perfect, because he did win a trophy, so I can compare that. I've said this before on the podcast. People who listened before, I can remember going to a handful of games under George Graham, and they were dreadful.
I was able to go because it never sold out. Could people imagine the old White Hart Lane never selling out? And I know our current stadium, we got a bit of an attendance dip, and a few people have pointed at that. But White Hart Lane, 36,000, I think, at the time, and it was 20,000 at best.
Yeah, yeah.
I could literally rock up on the day with my brother and
Just
they'd
buy
go,
a ticket.
yeah, here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you fancy a game of football? No, thanks. I'm just trying to walk past the stadium, mate. Oh, come on!
There was the ticket touts were actually paying you to take a ticket off them.
Yeah, I've got like 5,000 of these. Someone, please.
I'll give you a tenner if you take 2 tickets.
Yeah. Or go on then. Me and my dog.
Oh, if we have to. But I can remember like one that sticks out, and again, it's probably one I've mentioned before. We beat. I remember us beating Leeds 1-0, and a friend of mine who I used to work with said, "Oh, I've got a couple of tickets." One of the touts has paid me 20 quid to have them, and I remember we won the game 1-0. We won the game 1-0, but I just came out, I think, feeling, if my memory serves, just feeling depressed.
Yeah, that was the overarching, because I was quite young, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm at a football match, but the thing is, like, my experience before my first ever Tottenham game had been the 91 semi-final, Wembley Stadium, beating Arsenal 3-1. Can you imagine that atmosphere?
Yeah.
So then your next Tottenham experience was George Graham's
God.
Tottenham, and I just remember being like so amped, like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I remember what this is like, and being, why is everyone so angry?
Why is the football so boring?
There's a guy basically sat in a row over there, and all he's done for like 40 minutes, is he doing crochet? It was bad.
And so there you go.
Bad.
So we've got an actual comparison that we can make. And I honestly, the brand of football that we had that 2 or 3 years under Pochettino was insane. It was just amazing to watch. Like how many times we'd win a game and I'd be like buzzing, putting match of the day on. Like, I cannot wait to watch this football match.
I mean, that's the thing as well. Is like the thing that I remember about that is content. Like, we wanted to consume every minute. Like, we'd finish a game. I remember me and you would like be sharing clips of like Gary Neville doing a breakdown of our performance and stuff like that with each other. God, I haven't done that for a while. And I know why.
Yeah,
it's like, God, that's depressing. Stop analysing how crap we've become.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Yeah. Like I say, I mean, I joke when I say I'm triggered by memories of Mourinho games, but honestly, me and Seb, because obviously that season when no one was allowed to go to the stadiums, me and Seb would just sit there watching it, and I'd be like, this is hurting me. This is hurting. And like, there'd be so many games, and obviously the West Ham's a good example when we threw away a 3-0 lead. But there'd be so many games when you're thinking, the players, like we and you said so many times, the players look absolutely petrified of making a mistake, and their soul is being slowly ripped from them.
And then they would, and because they'd be so nervous and anxious, they'd like miscontrol, or you'd see him misplace a pass. And the thing that gave it away was you'd see him immediately look to the side of the pitch, like, oh no,
he's gonna have the ump in the morning, isn't he?
This is gonna be a nightmare. I'm gonna be on the naughty step. This is, oh no, I tried a pass. Oh, damn it, I know the instruction is to lump it into row Z.
Here we go. He's a good example. He's a good player that I think that look at him under Mourinho, look at him under Conte, and that's Lucas.
Yeah.
Look how much he expresses himself now, and how much seeing the player play with the confidence and the ability that he has instead of being frightened to make a mistake, And it's just like I honestly that header for that goal, was it against Norwich? I can't remember which game it was. When he just flew in, peak more now. Just the guy that just he's putting his heart and soul into it. And like you said, he's almost to the point now where he's almost like one of the first names on the team sheet now. And
I think so. Yeah,
he's bringing out. This is what Conte's doing. He's allowing players to have the confidence and express themselves without shitting themselves every time they do something wrong.
And some of them have been able to embrace it. I think going full circle on this back to Dele, I just don't think he was able to. I think he was so far jaded into everything. This is why he needed to go.
He needed to go.
New environment, new people around him to train with. Just kind of a new coach to put. I think Lampard could be very clever. I mean, Lampard could literally put his arm around him and go, right, you know me. You know I was the best goal scoring midfielder this league has ever seen. You can do that. And Dele can. Dele literally, that kid can perfect that role of arriving late. That kind of Lampard thing of when the ball went. I remember watching Chelsea when Lampard played, and any time the ball went loose around the box, that bar steward was there. Just always.
Yeah.
If you could get Dele doing that forever, I mean, they're going to launch themselves this second half of the season. But that's one of the other things I saw a lot about is, oh my God, we've let him go for free. Did everyone not realise why we did that? Is that like not a common thing that people don't realise?
But that's the thing, Sam. Look, don't get me wrong. You go into details with things far more than I do. But even boring. In the brief kind of look I was having at Sky News or Sky Sports, everything, got the gist of the fact that Everton had already made their 2 domestic loan signings, so they couldn't loan anybody else. So it was like, okay, there's going to be a fee there, but we kind of have to structure it so like it's almost like a loan. It's a permanent thing. But that's the thing. That's the thing, Sam, isn't it? Like people just jump to these assumptions all the time without having a bit of just look into it instead of just looking at what you're presented with and getting angry. Have a little look into it. Find out why
I was surprised when the initial report came out that it was a free transfer with 10 million after 20 games. And when I saw that, I thought, bloody hell, we've let Dele go for 10 million, in essence. I was like, well, I suppose we've doubled our money, but still, it doesn't seem, with a homegrown player of his undoubted ability, still only 25, 26, that seems cheap. And then within half an hour, it was revealed that, okay, 10 million after 20 games, an additional 10 million after another 20 games. So basically, by the end of next season, they've paid us 20 million for him. And that can go all the way up to 40 million, depending on goals, depending on achievements for the club and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if someone had just said Everton had bought Dele for 40 million, everyone would go, yeah,
sounds good.
Great, that's business. Yeah. I did see quite a funny sketch actually. Tottenham, this guy does a lot of football kind of joke things on TikTok, and he did one for Tottenham, basically like having a fire sale on deadline day of like desperate to get rid of these players because Conte wanted them gone.
Yeah. And
he said like Everton rang him up on deadline day for Dele. He was like, oh, we're interested in taking Dele, and they were like, oh, okay. And he said, yeah, 10 million, and the guy like pretending to be Daniel Levy went, oof, I don't know if we can give you that as well. And he went, no, we're going to pay you. And then the next thing to him getting his keys going, Dele, we're off! It's like, nice.
It's quality.
Very good. It would have worked better with Tanguy. I think Leon. The Tanguy and the Belly one as well, there's a lot of misconceptions about that because when you buy a player, everyone seems, I don't know if this is a thing because of Football Manager or FIFA, everyone just seems to think that you sign a player for 60 million quid, you transfer 60 million into their bank account. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Football transfers are done in installments. So, like, if we sign Tanguy and Belly on a 5-year contract, typically clubs structure the payments around the 5 years. So, we'd still be paying installments, 2-3 installments a year for the next however many years. So Leon came back in for him after the PSG deal collapsed. PSG weren't able to shift the player they wanted to be able to sign him. They decided to switch their attention to Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona right at the last minute. I think Tottenham went into freefall thinking, oh my God, we're going to be left with him. This is going to be a nightmare. And yes, Leon came straight in because they sold a player and he was going to replace. And basically the deal seems to be is like as an initial loan. If Tanguy can find his feet again over there, then in essence they're going to sign him from us for an agreed fee of about 50 million euros. The way that's going to settle out is in essence we're going to cancel the payments we still owe them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Leon are just going to make up the difference. I think the difference is going to end up being them giving us about 10 million euros. So in essence, we just signed Tanguy for 2.5 years for about 15 million. Most expensive, worst loan in history.
Yeah.
But
it works.
But that's how it works out. So people are like, "Oh, we wasted 60 million on him, and now we're letting him go back to the club." And I'm like, well, just again, take a breath, dude.
Yeah. Just
have a look at it and go. Yeah, we've lost money on that deal. It didn't work out. That can happen. I mean, the Lo Celso one really, that one's really bad. Our total spends like 40-something million, and I think we're going to let him go for 20.
Oh, Jesus. Do you know, just going quickly back to the Ndombele one, if anyone listening's got siblings, what this reminded me of is when you've had a big argument with one of your siblings, they grass you up and they look back with a big smile on their face, getting you in trouble. Did you see that silly soppy grin on Ndombele's face? Right, I've never seen him grin once at Spurs. All I see is grimace.
Yeah, no, I know. And he put a thing on Instagram, like, so happy to be back in Lyon, so thrilled to be back in France. And right at the very end, because he's on loan technically, he just put at the very end, good luck for the rest of the season, Tottenham.
Oh, yeah. Like, someone made him do that.
Trust us, we're fine.
Exactly.
We're good. We're good, man. I mean, like with him, it was just so, like, everything's there for that guy to be great. And it's like, when it didn't happen, it was just so aggravating. But again, and this sort of gives me a perfect segue to say something about this window that I think the club did very well, and very unlike us, is we did move them on. We did actually really take deals that people wouldn't normally associate with Daniel Levy doing. He's not done this in the past, by the way, because Jose wanted them gone.
Yeah.
And he didn't take the hit. He didn't take the deals to get them on. He was like, no. Remember, he convinced Ndombele to stay.
That's right. Yeah.
Delhi, he wouldn't take the deals to do. Even last summer, like Nuno and Delhi could have gone to PSG. He wouldn't do those deals to do it. Conte, we're talking about, he's going to walk, Conte's going to go. Nah, he got what he wanted in this window.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He got two players that he rates.
He trusts.
Brilliant article about how he wanted both of them at different points at Inter Milan because he sees them fitting in his style of play. Two players that really want to work with him as well, and you get that really come across in their kind of welcome to Tottenham interviews things, like, you're signing for Tottenham. It's like, yeah, great club, but Conte, my God, can't wait to get working. So if these two guys come in and can contribute, more than the four that have gone, which I think they definitely can, then we're definitely in a better place. So the kind of nonsense of he's not been back, let us doing those deals for those players to go. Brian Gill, we've had him since the summer. He was a signing for Nuno by Paratici. Conte's like, nah, it don't work for me, mate. And we've let him go straight away. Like, there's no well, we've only just signed him, you got to stick with him. It's okay. All right, we'll get him a loan somewhere, and then we can assess again in the summer. And Lo Celso, Ndombele, Delhi, Conte's gone. Nope, they are contributing nothing. If anything, they're a pain in my ass. I want them gone. And we actually did it.
Yeah.
That to me it was the first real sign of something a little bit different at Tottenham. The signings feels a bit same old. We got to the last minute, and the fact we signed two players from Juventus does concern me a little bit. It kind of felt like we had a list of possibles and we worked our way through it, and then we ended up with Paratici going to his old club going, anyone? You got anyone you don't want? But that's just a perception thing. That's probably not the reality. But the way in which we actually moved people on, that was better. That's what we've needed to be like that for a while.
Yeah, it's like we've said so many times, haven't we, that with Levy's very, very good, has a very good business acumen. Yeah. Clearly does. No one's going to be good at have that kind of acumen without being where they are for a company. Yeah. You don't know. I'm not going to find myself as the next CEO of a massive corporation or part of that's you've got to have something about you.
Into that massively,
you've got to have something about you. But he's never quite got the footballing aspect of it, and it's always been like we said, he'll look to get a good deal but he's never factored in how what you're doing is affecting the actual squad.
Yeah, dressing room.
But this feels like for the first time. See, on the face of it, 2 in 4 out. On the face of it, that doesn't look good. But when you break it down like you have, the 4 out almost feel like signings because it's what he wanted. He's got 4 players that aren't fitting into his system, that are just on the periphery and aren't going to, to a certain extent, almost detrimental. He's brought 2 players in that fit into his system that he, like you said, that he wants. Yeah. And then you've got the likes of Romero now that's going to be fit, and we've seen so little of him. I feel like he's a January transfer window signing himself. He's now fit.
He is quality.
He's absolutely mustard. Honestly, like I said this to you. I heard I see him. It was a game we played before he got injured, and I was like, wow, did he just pull that tackle off? I'm like, this guy's so good.
He is so good, and he's a few people have said he gives away. I know Stefan is still on the fence, but he feels like he gives away yellow cards a little bit too easily. And you could definitely make that argument for him, because I saw him get sent off for 2 bookings not long ago. But the one thing I see, the thing is about me is like central defenders. I think you have to have that. You need to have at least. We're playing a back 3. I think Eric Dyer has got that in him, but has become more controlled. I think Sanchez has got that flick the switch mad button, but he's actually looking more controlled again as
it's
well.
Confidence, Sam. He's instilling confidence. Sanchez is such a confidence player. Like you can tell, you knock the confidence out of him. That guy is a shell of a player.
Someone said to me, and he goes, he's season ticket holder like you, and he said to me, I know how good our defence is going to be by how Sanchez deals with the first ball to him.
Yeah,
I see him confidently head the ball away, confidently control it and pass it. I'm like, oh, phew.
That's so true.
We got solid Sanchez today.
Yeah.
Said if he squiffs it or header goes wrong, or he's like, oh, we got a day of it. We got a day of it.
So true. It's so true.
And I think it's accurate. But what I would say is, I watched him play again, and we didn't. It's against Chelsea, I think. So it wasn't a game we won. And he started, and he had a really bad start, and I was like, oh, no, not one of these days. And he recovered, and he had a really good game. And I think even Conte said afterwards, like, I couldn't fault the player's effort. And he sort of special mentioned the Sanchez of basically showing a little bit more maturity, a little bit more nous of being able to shake off the kind of, do you know what, yeah, I ballsed up then, but that's one mistake. I've still got 88 minutes to play. Do you know what I mean? And he was able to do that. And I do think a lot of that's down to the coaching.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Sanchez came in and Pochettino had him as part of a 3, Toby and Jan with Sanchez, and he looked great in that 3, and then obviously the system didn't quite work, so he went back and then kind of rotated it in and out. And he's always been kind of rotated in and out all the time, like trying to find a new central defensive pairing, hasn't it? Like injury cover. He's never been settled into it. Now we're back to a 3, and I would love to watch Dyer, Sanchez, and Romero get a run of games.
Yes.
I just, because if those 3 could settle, you can tell QT and Sanchez, South American blood boiling.
Yes.
those guys are up for everything. Dyer set between them. Do you know what I mean? Just sat there between them, just kind of like, all right, guys, here's the line. Here, English. I mean, that kid can communicate with them in every language as well. He's an intelligent boy.
Yeah,
I like
you're right.
him.
Yeah.
So you got that there, and you look at that, and it's funny because at the start of the season you look at that and go, we need 2 new defenders. QT looks all right, but Dyer, Sanchez aren't up to it. But then the system, the coaching, and the combination, suddenly you look at it and go, those 3 could be very good.
Yeah,
So I'd love to see a run of games now, because I don't think we've really seen it yet. It's always been one of them out, one suspended, one got COVID.
Sure.
It's always been a bit sorry. So we could just get a run of games and look at those 3. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that all properly coached, because we just had this break, which I think's been massive. Potentially massive for us.
You've only got to look at like when we managed to get a break last time because of COVID, and the next game was Liverpool, and we
played really
cracking in that game.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, our next game obviously is the FA Cup this weekend against Brighton. The FA Cup, I don't think people are going to be mad at me to say is our last trophy a possibility for this season.
Oh, completely, yeah.
Barring a kind of mathematical collapse and Man City, Liverpool being found guilty of some great footballing offence.
Deducted 21 points each.
yeah, and then I think we'd only be level with them. Barring something like that happening, or Russia invading the Ukraine and the season being suspended, it ain't going to happen anywhere else. So when it comes to this, that is our trophy hope. I think Conte would love to nail that straight away.
Oh, yes, completely.
Because Pochettino, I think, described it not long ago as it becomes a monkey at Tottenham. It becomes a thing on your back. It becomes a kind of, you're turning things around, but what have you won? What have you won? And it becomes like a real stick to hit you with. This is the 4th round. You win that into the 5th. You're 4 games away. So I don't think he's going to look at that and go, write it off, we just got to focus on top 4. I think we've only the FA Cup and the league left to play in this season. Infinitely achievable to be competitive in both. I think we'll see our strongest team against Brighton. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I am very much looking forward to it. I hope I'm not setting myself up for, oh, bloody hell. But I'm hoping we're going to see our strongest team.
Yeah, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night. Hopefully a good crowd in, good atmosphere. I think it'll be a cracking night. I'm buzzing. I'm taking my dad's, because my brothers went to see us play against Chelsea, one of the 3 games. It was the league one away. And they said to my dad, oh, we've got you a ticket. And then a couple of days later, one of my brothers was like, oh, actually, I'm going to take my fiancée with me, and who's actually a West Ham fan. So, yeah, you haven't got a ticket now. So he lost out, and I felt really bad for him. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to see if I can get him a ticket. And I thought it's going to be fairly easy, even when the general sale. So we're sitting about 30 rows back in the south, in the corner, behind the corner flag. And I like that view. I mean, when we went to the Morecambe game, we was in that same section, but we was about 7 or 8 rows back. And don't get me wrong, it's fantastic from the point of view that you can almost touch the players. But the thing I don't like is when the ball goes to the other end, I cannot make head nor tail what's going on. You know, whereas I think 30 rows back, you kind of
say, Seb, use your young eyes, kid.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you get a fight. It's so difficult because like where I normally sit, where our season ticket is, we're 53 rows back in the south, in more or less in the middle. And when you walk down, what's that?
You got a pretty good view.
Yeah, it's a good view. Yeah, but when you so you come at, you see, obviously you've got the entrance, so so that's what gets you into the bowl, if you like, and then we have to walk up about maybe 15 rows to our seats. So when it's half time, you walk down those 15 rows, and obviously at the end of the game, you walk down those rows and then to exit. And as I'm walking down, I'm thinking, this view seems to be getting better and better. Look how close I am getting to these. And I'm like, oh, why don't we just move closer? But then it is such a sweet spot, because you go too close and you cannot make head or tail of it. You go too far back and you can't even see what number is on the back of the shirt. It's that real sweet spot, and I'm hoping one day I find that sweet spot.
Yeah, well, you got to keep wandering around. Like half time, just keep wandering around seats. Exactly. What's that guy doing? He's just sitting in seats and walking about. Keeps talking about a sweet spot. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah.
Anyone who goes
finds it, and he's writing down the seat number, like waiting for the person to come back. Say, "You a season ticket holder? Are you interested in swapping?"
Do you know what? Anyone that's going on Saturday that's bought a ticket, and I don't know if it's something, if you ever go and have a look, they've changed it. They've changed the e-ticketing thing now. So when up until about 2 weeks ago, and I'm presuming it's not just me, because whatever device I used to go on, it used to be the same. You'd go onto the stadium plan if you wanted to pick your seats, and it was an absolute nightmare, right? You'd try to zoom in, and it'd zoom out stuttering, and then you press about zoom in 20 times, and then suddenly it'd catch on it to zoom in too far, and you're like, for God's sake, I just want to, like, why is this so difficult? But anyway, they've changed it now, and you go on there now, and you get a stadium plan. And you can see, obviously, it's a illustration. You know, it's not real, but it's a accurate, like a real, almost true to life illustration. And you can just see each individual seat. And then say, for example, you want free tickets, which is what I got from me, Seb, and my dad. You click on that you want free, and then it'll only show you whether they're free available, and then you press 1 and it picks all 3 for you, and then when you go onto the free, you press onto it and it says view details, and then it gives you your view, so you can get you can scatter around the stadium, pick one, pick a view.
Showing off now.
It's really so user friendly, like the absolute opposite to what it was like before, and it's a pleasure. But the only problem for me, and I don't know if this is something I've ever mentioned to you before on the podcast, but I've got this really weird thing about me, and I may be the only person who has, right? But to give you an example, if I go into a supermarket and get a sandwich, right, there'll be like, say there's like, it goes back 5. So like I find the one I want, and there's 5 of them, right? I can't just grab that first sandwich and walk away. I'm thinking, well, that one looks all right, but maybe there's more filling in the second one, and the third one, maybe it.
You have to look at them.
I've got to look at all 5, right? I can't just be one of these people that goes, oh, I fancy that sandwich, grab that one, right? And I'm the same with this, right? Do you know what it is? I think it's that FOMO effect, fear of missing out. If I pick this one, I could have picked that one. So I literally spent about an hour finding these free.
How do you not fall down more?
In the end, Sam, it was just hurting my head, and I'm like,
I was gonna say that drive me insane.
Just pick free seats.
Just do this. Come on, brain, you can do this. And then you bet when you settle, and you're like, yeah, okay, these are the ones, definitely the ones. Yeah. Your brain went, but are they?
Yeah, it does. I don't. Please don't. Like, I can't be the only person that suffers with this.
Yeah, someone else who suffers this, message him, please. He needs a hug.
Yeah, let's have a hug together.
Yeah, he needs some solidarity from somebody. Speaking of people messaging in, by the way, I do want to say, I joked about this stuff, but I do want to say thank you for the overall reception we got. Our last show, we obviously opened talking about the Mason Greenwood thing and kind of universal support from everyone on that. So thank you, appreciate it. There's certain situations I voice sometimes that I'm sort of sat back waiting, thinking, "Oh, here we go. this is when someone says something that's really going to send me over the edge." But no, it was universal. I also want to say we had messages. 3 different women messaged in of a talk about it as well, which was great. Matt, our female audience is growing.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure how this has happened. But
with all your sexist jokes, Sam, as well. I don't know.
I know. Dude, they probably haven't heard them yet.
Oh,
Come on.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, God, I need to pick a different people to offend. Yeah. So when we get to like a breakdown roughly of how many people are listening, we're sort of approaching 1,200 average, or our sort of best show is getting 1,500. But then the mixture now, like we're up to nearly 200 women listening every week.
Okay,
that's crazy to me. Like, not because they're not football fans, not because they don't know Tottenham, but generally, you know, I mean, I can only speak to myself. We don't make it sexy, man. We don't. I don't get it. They're here solid for the football content, clearly. But yeah, no, it was really funny actually. The messages I got were sort of like, you know, thanks for using your voices, which was great, and I appreciate it. You know, didn't do it for that, but thank you, appreciate you saying it. But then I had one of them really go into quite detail over the transfer window, to the point that I was kind of like, okay, right, you've just absolutely nailed a question, which I think so many people have tried to articulate that you've nailed it. So I replied, went backwards and forwards. Yeah, she was like 19. And she's at a London football academy, and I'm starting to think she needs this job, not me. It's like, I had a conversation for a bit, and I was kind of like, yeah, that's probably one of the smartest takes I've had for a while. Fair play, yeah. But so yeah, big thank you everybody for listening. It's always a real kind of strange thing to me and Matt when we postpone a show or something and people genuinely message in like, you know, that's part of my routine, that's part of I do this, and it's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird for us.
Exactly. And it's funny because like we'd always say, it's just me and you, like, it's getting up to Skype and just having a chat for an hour. You know, that's what it is.
That's literally what it is. And then people listen to us talking. I mean, I put it in perspective because I do another podcast as well, and we did a show not long ago on the new Spider-Man film.
Yeah, Seb listened to all episodes, by the way.
Well, thank you. And that show went nuts. Like, literally, the amount of people who listen to our podcast on that is insane. And like we were trying to put it in the numbers, and we got up to, I think they're up to about 15,000.
Wow.
I've been to football matches where 15,000 people have been in attendance at a football match. And I was kind of I was putting my brain around it. Basically, that's the equivalent of me and Stefan sitting in the middle of one of these stadiums at the centre circle having a chat, and 15,000 people were just watching.
That's only a few couple of thousand short of the South Stand, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really strange kind of weird thing to sort of get in your mind. It's sort of like, so on this show it's kind of like, yeah, it's strange sometimes. You imagine being, because someone said to me about doing podcast lives, so pubs and people and places are obviously trying to get people back in, come up with these things, and there's a pub in London is now inviting podcasters to come along rather than musical acts or rather than comedians, or as well as, and do your show live with a live audience.
That's really cool.
And yeah, well, someone like messaged and said, "Oh, you ought consider this." It was one of the ladies who messaged you, pointed it out, and I said, "Oh, thanks. That's kind of funny." And I just sort of thought to myself, me and you sit and we just chat, and could you imagine doing it in a pub? Like, so we got a couple of beers going, you got like 100, 200 people sat there just literally watching this. I don't know if I could do it.
I'd love it.
I have performance anxiety. I know you would. You're a showman.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do
you know that's the thing? We talked earlier about Steve Hitchen and how he's doing a job that he was telling about a job he doesn't. I think for me, look, I've worked in the railway industry now for 13, 14 years. 14 years. I never was at school thinking I'd love to work in the railway. Like, I wanted to be an actor. That's where I wanted to be. I went to my work experience was at a theatre. I loved it. I loved all that.
You have a performer in you,
and,
sir.
And my path. And do you know what? Did I mention on the last one about what I did at the weekend with Layla? She's part of a dance group. And it's a local one, but they're quite successful. It's two sisters that run it, and they'd won tons of medals, and they just basically do a dance group of different ages.
Nice.
And they hired. It was at Cambridge University. They hired the theatre there, and it was about 400 or 500 seats there. And me and Vicky went. Well, Seb got looked after by my in-laws, and we've seen some school plays, and I don't know if this is your experience with Phoebe, but they're an endurance test, aren't they? They're not something to enjoy. It's an endurance test, and hope to enjoy the 5 seconds that you see your child do their bit.
Yeah, garbage.
Yeah, but this was fantastic. They were so, and do you know what? Layla come on, and she's not got, she wasn't doing the splits or anything like that. But at one point, so the girls lifted her up, and she was the one that got lifted up. But she was so confident, the arms were coming in.
That.
And do you know what? That is what it's all about, the confidence of it. That she's gone stage, she knows there was about 200-300 parents watching, and she smashed it. And I'm like, do you know what? If she enjoys this as much as it looks like she's going to enjoy, I'm going to push her that way. And look, don't get me wrong. I know that you need to have the fire in your belly yourself. It's not all about being pushed, but. I guess with Phoebe, I mean, you talk about how well she's doing, like in the acting world, and I know you, like I do. I can imagine you've been a good push for her, knowing that she's enjoyed it, and you're going to push her that way.
Definitely.
There you go. See, so if Layla does enjoy it as much, that's what I'm going to try to push her. But it's just being. It's just kind of having that confidence that she's got and enjoying it. But yeah, I for me, that's where my path should have gone. I should have been a famous actor somewhere. So yeah, if we do a podcast, mate, and we're in a pub and we've got people watching,
live.
Mate, Sam, I am all over that. Over it.
Okay. Well,
we get someone. Can we hire someone to have a little musical interlude with playing a bit of music and all that, and then we come on again and we get a couple of good guests on. Look, with all your connections, maybe get an ex-player on. Honestly,
I could definitely do that. Yeah, see, I said this in jest, and now it's becoming a.
It's got to be a thing.
Promise. It's being added to the list of things I've said we'll do at some point.
And seeing as you said your other podcast went through the roof when you did the Spider-Man episodes, I'm thinking Tom Holland. Can we get him? Can we book him?
Yeah.
There's the link there.
I fear that one might be a little bit out of our range, but hey, it's an email.
It's an email. Can I? But before we go, Sam, I wanted to get it in if I could. I know we've moved on from talking about the transfer window, but my favourite signing, transfer deadline day signing, like in football, not just at Spurs, was a Jermaine Defoe one. I loved that. Okay. I loved it. Reason being is that this guy's going to be 40 this year, right?
Yeah.
And it just shows you how many professional football players are still playing nearing 40. I mean, it's so rare. It makes me feel younger.
Rare.
And even you, I guess, you can look at him and go, well, I'm younger than Jermaine.
No, I am younger than Jermaine.
There you go. But he's going back to the club that he played before, and obviously there was the. When he was there before, he was Bradley Lowry, and I love it, because the Sunderland fan, look, Jermaine Defoe is a yiddo, we love the guy, but it's the same with Sunderland, they've got a massive affiliation with the guy, so for him it's like a second homecoming for him, and
I think it's going to be I'd imagine this is the end of his career. I think it's going to be a lovely finale, but I was saying that, and I was very much of your opinion, but then I read today who's about to be appointed his new manager.
Okay.
Roy Keane's about to take the job.
Oh, you're kidding. He's going back there. Right.
Yeah, I'm not joking.
Oh, Jesus. I can't stand that guy.
Jermaine Defoe was like, it's going to be a lovely end. I know Lee Johnson. This is going to be a good... They fire Lee Johnson, and they had talks with Roy Keane yesterday, and now Roy's considering it today.
Oh,
it was all positive.
Jesus.
What a contrast that's going to be.
Oh God, you ruined that for me, Sam.
Yeah. Sorry, mate, but I'm just thinking to myself, if you're him, you've just signed that deal. You're just kind of like, this is going to be a lovely finale to my footballing kind of life. Where I can get Sunderland to back up the league, like promoted this season. And then Roy Keane comes in.
Does it?
The absolute animal.
Yeah, there is a positive from that though. I do now hope that means that if he does take it on, that we haven't got to see his mug on the in the studio whenever we play. Because
he doesn't bother me, Roy Keane. He's a caricature, and he's making good money out of basically being a grumpy old bastard. You put him with Micah Richards, and you get to see the real Roy Keane because he can't hold it.
No,
he laughs. Yeah. He laughs too much, and you can see that then, and then you suddenly go, you're playing a character. You're deliberately doing it, bastard. But yeah, the Micah Richards. If anyone missed them during the Euros, find it on YouTube. Micah Richards and Roy Keane road trip. You'll suddenly realise just how bloody funny Micah is for a start. Because he cracks him every time. Just Roy's trying. You can see every ounce of him. He's trying to still be Roy Keane, the hard man. And he cracks every time. He just can't do it. I mean, there's one bit, I think Micah shows up late. And he's there, like, moaning to the cameraman, like, I'm just going to go back home, I'm going to go back home. And he shows up and he's basically put, like, Man City flags all over the car, like, hello, Roy! He's like, oh, my God. And he's laughing straight away. He's like, I'm not getting in the car with you. It's so great. But, yeah, fine. That. So to finish up then, I wanted to come back full circle to Steve Hitchen. It shocked a fair few people yesterday on the 2nd of February that Steve Hitchen resigned from Tottenham. When I say shocked a fair few people, it shocked me as well. And the main reason being is there had been no leaks of kind of like conflict, no leaks of kind of like clearly when this window's done, Steve's going to go. You know, there was no talk about this at all, and then it just bang happened. I dare say over the coming weeks, more's going to come out. Anything said right now is purely speculation, purely kind of people's opinion, educated opinion or vastly uneducated opinion. But my overall thing on this is really mixed. It's really mixed in the sense of, when I was looking through the fan base, the overall reaction was one of like joy. It would appear that Steve's leaving. It would appear that a lot of people have assigned every bad signing we've made to him. And it's like Lo Celso and Ndombele, I saw that come up so much yesterday, like, oh, here's the guy who signed these players, so no wonder he's good riddance. They were both players chosen by Mauricio Pochettino. Mauricio was being backed in that window for the first time, by the way, but he was being backed, and these were players that he worked with, Steve identified, and he wanted to work with because he felt his coaching, his method, his tactics, he'd get the best out of them. That could have been the case, we'll never know, but that was what happened. So for Steve Hitchen to carry that can is a little bit unfair. There's also a lot of very good connected journalists with Tottenham who have written about the amount of times that Steve Hitchen identified, found a player, and then the deal fell through. And you kind of can mirror that with Paul Mitchell, who of course famously quit as our director of football. Daniel Levy even made him work his notice, if everyone remembers that. And he did it professionally, and then he left. And there's a kind of like a mirroring going on there between the two of them, where clearly they felt that their role wasn't their role. It kind of felt like, okay, I'm head of recruitment, I'm the guy who bring these people in, I'm the one doing the deals, I'm negotiating, I've identified these people, and then it gets to this point and I hand it to you and nothing happens. We dither, and we go back to that again. When Paratici came in, a lot of people thought, well, what does this mean for Steve Hitchen? What does this mean? He took a new role with a really fancy title, which no one really understood what his new role was. And I think when we hit this window now, I got a feeling, and again, this is purely my opinion, I've not been told anything or anything like this, it's just me outside looking in. I get the feeling that he went through this window and at the end of it, he's just looked at it and gone, what is my role here now? I'm not a scout anymore. I'm not involved in the transfers anymore, negotiations or anything. I'm in essence, I work for Fabio, which, is great, but other clubs want me as their director of football. because within hours of him quitting, Everton are looking to appoint him. So I think that's why it's happened. I think it's a natural evolution thing of the club has picked Paratici to come in and fulfill this role, and Steve Hitchens worked with him since the summer up to this window, and the window's finished, and he's gone, nah, this isn't for me. I mean, that's my takeaway. I mean, my feelings on it's mixed, only because I think he carried the can a lot for stuff going wrong, which was unfair, and I think he did identify a number of very good players that we just simply ballsed up. And I got a horrible feeling that whoever we have in that role is going to feel that kind of frustration as well, unless the club changes the way we do things in recruitment. But that's a whole other thing. But him leaving is, I don't feel it's going to have a massive impact, because I don't feel that his role had a massive impact on us, because, like I just said, he could identify the best players in the world, but if we don't sign them, what's the point in having him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So his departure, I don't think is going to have a massive impact. We've in essence made the change. We appointed Paratici. At that point, I think a lot of people thought, well, does that mean Hitchens fired? Does that mean he's gone? But then he stayed. I think he stayed because he thought, I quite like this club. I'm in this role. They've given me a fancy new title. Probably got a little bit of a salary bump to ease the pain of losing the recruitment side. But no, he wants to go back to doing what he enjoys, the scouting and the actual recruitment. And good luck to him.
Yeah, when I was when at work, when the pandemic hit in March 2020, so I was in essence a ticket inspector on the trains. I mean, they give you they give me another fancy title, but that's basically what I was.
Yeah.
And obviously with the pandemic hitting, and us all going, oh my god, the world's going to end. We was all off the trains, and then a couple of months later, it's like, right, okay, back on the trains, but just literally walk up and down checking people are wearing masks. Like, don't no penalty faring, no checking tickets, no going near anybody, just walk up, keep your distance, and check that they're wearing masks. And I can remember having a chat with one of my colleagues, and he was going, oh mate, this is awesome. He said, we're getting paid all this money just to literally walk up a train, check people are wearing masks, and that's it. Like he said, this is just this is my perfect life, And for me, I was thinking, well, this isn't the job I kind of took on, and which is why I kind of looked to move on, and I did move on. But maybe that is his thought process, that I took the job I originally took on, I'm just like, I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm like, what is the point? And some people may go, brilliant, I've got a fancy new title, I'm getting paid loads of money to basically do F all. Or maybe he's just thought, no, I'm like, life's short, I want to kind of build my reputation more, and this isn't going to happen here.
I want to actually do what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone else is offering me the chance to do that.
Yeah, completely. So, you probably hit the nail on the head, I think, with it.
Yeah, it was just because we talk about the kind of the press and the way the press write things and how articles can be written and the way you write it. Like, so headlines, for example, the headline is Steve Hitchen resigns from position at Tottenham. That's the headline. That's the fact. Then the story, you can dive into opinion. Of course, you can then dive into it as, I am a sports journalist, I think this is bad for the club because X, Y, Z. Or you can go, I think this is good for the club because of X. You go into it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I read the headline yesterday is like 100+ years of footballing experience departs Tottenham in the last month. Is club in crisis.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so I thought about that. I thought, I can't think. I know there was one of the other directors who left, and I'm thinking, this person who's wrote this article cannot possibly be discussing the head of catering leaving, could he?
Yeah.
Could this person really be making that headline? Yeah, and lo and behold, they were.
Oh, come on.
Literally, our head of catering, our head of player services, like the person who basically organises their cars, left and was replaced. That person bloody retired. And like a lady who was in our sales and marketing who did a phenomenal job for years left for a different job. One of the directors who really helped the club with the finances left. He's starting his own business with his family. And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, how have you written this article and you've done it with a straight face?
Yeah.
I was really, really kind of like, Like, I get it sometimes. Like, I laugh at the Sun's kind of the way they take a headline. Like, you see like a woman fall over in the street and she's hurt herself and she's suing the council. And the next thing you know, you've got a picture on the front page of the Sun all made up, like boobs are on display and everything is like local Instagram model breaks ankle. And I'm like, literally the story is here like a page 9 story. Someone sues the local council, and I'm talking page 9 story in the local Gazette, not national newspaper. But because she had nice boobs and she's on Instagram, the Sun have got it front page. What? Look at this!
It's manipulation. You've only got to look, you know, and I know we sometimes occasionally very briefly dip my toes into politics, but you've only got to look at what's going on at the moment. You've got like Boris Johnson, who's in absolute turmoil because of the Partygate and all. So what's he doing?
I'm sorry, mate. Could you can I stop you? They were gatherings, not parties. Can we correct the language there, please? Thank you. You can continue your point now, but I think it's really important. Gathering gate. If you're going to use gathering gate.
I love it. Do you know? Oh, what was it? Someone. I don't know if you've seen it. Oh my god, I can forget now. But you can mix up the word Sue Gray report and it comes up like rogue partiers or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really clever. Right. But so here we are, right? What's the best way to make the general public forget about that? I don't know. Jump on a plane, go to Russia, sort out stopping World War III. There you go. Get a good picture, put it on all the newspapers.
I gotta be fair. I kind of would quite like everyone to stop World War III, please. I'm at an age I'll be conscripted, and I ain't up for that.
But do you genuinely think he's going to go there and go, yeah, Mr. Putin, I don't think you should do.
No,
yeah, I'll listen to you.
Make it a million times worse. Think about that poor woman in Iran. He like bumbled his ass into there.
He had another 20 years to her sentence.
So badly, they added years to her sentence. The friggin' idiot. If there's one person you wouldn't want negotiating world peace, it's him. You imagine that the conference, we got a conference here, America have sent Donald Trump, Britain have sent Boris Johnson, Vladimir Putin sat there. Putin's been laughing for 20 minutes. I'm not sure if this is a good sign or not. Oh, it's like saying the fucking Chuckle Brothers negotiate world peace.
But you look at it, and I think have you seen the picture of him like going into, I don't know if it's his hotel or the conference, he's got his tie way too long. He's a dishevelled mess.
Look, we don't go into politics on this for obvious reasons. But no, I'm just going to say this because I think people will resonate. I don't hate people, right? I try my best. There are certain people in this world I think are hateful, horrible people, but I won't lower myself to them being hateful by being that myself. So I don't hate Boris Johnson. I think the guy got elected on the wave of the Brexit stuff, which if you agree with it or not, that's what happened. It's an election, it's democracy. We got to get on with it. And he got elected on that wave, and then the COVID hit. He could not have predicted that. No one could. The government fucked up royally in so many ways, but they also did a lot of stuff to help a lot of people, which is kind of, it's like a balancing. And you look at it and you go, anyone in charge at that point would have made mistakes. Anyone in charge at that point would have done things well. Yeah. Some might have done a little bit more well. Some might have made a bit more mistakes. So I'm kind of like, that's what it is.
Yeah, we're human beings, aren't we? At the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there should be investigations to see what can be learned, because that's what we should always do. We should always, like, if something happens for the first time, you should always, okay, right, we're through that now. Let's work out, like, if this ever happens again, let's do it better. Let's make sure we are prepared. And that's fine. So I'm all of that. But when we got to this point that during the height of all of it, these bastards were having parties in their house, like a fucking frat house, like a public school boys. Oh, look, let's put our dick in a pig's ear. Bullshit. And they're just trying to just bludgeon their way through it. Like the whole country's sat looking at them right now going, what? And they're just going, yeah, I mean, we can't. I mean, for 2 weeks the guy went, oh, it was all within the rules, it was all this, and then he gets caught. It wasn't within the rules. You're an idiot. Yeah. He stands there and goes, today's not the day to say this because we just need to say apologise. That's what you've been saying for 2 weeks, you ass. So it's like my sister, right? I got an older sister who is a devout conservative. She's currently standing as a conservative for a local council election. She is a big Boris Johnson fan. She's got her picture taken with him that sits in her office. Like, she really has been supporting him. And her exact words to me the other day was, and this is cutting, this is evil. She said, "I'm not even angry, Sam. I'm disappointed in you." That's it.
That's
Anyone
it, yeah.
who's a parent knows that is it.
Or anyone that's a husband.
It's day over. That's it. Gone. He is dead to her now. But anyway, that was it. We ended with politics just to keep everyone on their toes.
There we go. Little bonus section.
Bonus section. Yeah, hopefully a lot of people just went, nope. As soon as you said, I don't want to get political. Nope. No.
I'm done for today's episode.
There's going to be a fight. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't promote anyone. I'm actually genuinely a centrist. I genuinely look at every election we come to and go, right, let's weigh it up, pros and cons. I don't belong to anybody, so perhaps I can talk about these things because I'll equally attack all of them.
Yeah, no, that's the best way to be. And look, I know, I really apologise. This will be the last thing I say on it, but I got told off by Vicky the other day because.
In that case, you deserved it.
I got caught up in the Spotify are evil. Let's cancel Spotify, okay. Right? And she said, "Look, we're so much now." And me and you have said this before. People are so much extreme one way or the other, and this is battle. Let's just try to meet in the middle somewhere. You know, there's more of us that just need to meet in the middle. And she pointed me in the direction of Russell Brand, and love him or hate him. I listened to 10 minutes of him talking, and I actually agree with a lot. And to be honest, and I mean this. Listening to you sound very much like he does when he's just, you know, we're human beings. We make mistakes.
I'm far more pirate than he will ever be.
Can I just say this is obviously part of our bonus content. So if anyone's still listening, well done. Right?
Yeah, thank you.
Right? But if you are,
I'd love to know the breakdown of men and women now.
Yeah, here we go. Right.
I think they've gone.
If anyone is still listening, you're going to be so glad you endured that last 3 or 4 minutes of politics, because I found out a really interesting fact about pirates the other day.
Oh, bring it on.
Now, you might not know this, and this is obviously very relevant to you as well. You probably do know this, but if you don't, then I'm going to give you some amazing information as well.
I like that. Yeah.
Now, where do you think the pirate accent, as we come to know it, comes from?
I don't think it's West Country. I always thought it would come from Norfolk way.
No, but like the actual around the world. If you watch a pirate film.
Oh, okay.
Why is there?
I don't know.
The reason why is because when one of the first pirate films was filmed, it was an American company as well. They knew somebody from Bristol, and they just thought that accent sounds fantastic, right? So your accent, the pirate accent doesn't exist. Yeah. There's no such thing as a pirate accent.
Well, it's funny because Blackbeard the pirate, probably one of the most famous real pirates there ever was from Bristol.
Oh, there you go. There's that as well.
William Teach. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. But it's not actually an actual official pirate accent.
They were from all over the world.
Yeah.
Most pirate crews are made up of freed slaves, Frenchmen, all sorts. So,
of course.
There is no R.
But that's what we all see, didn't we?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, especially when they're listening to me on a podcast. We will wrap it here. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, including politics and pirates this week. Next week we'll move on to sex and debauchery. No, we won't. But no, big thank you as always. We had a lot of fun just going through stuff, and double bubble this week. You are so lucky, everybody.
Yeah.
We will be back next week, hopefully to discuss an impressive victory over Brighton in the FA Cup, and the Spurs will go marching on. Everyone, you take care.
Take care, mate.
Thank you for listening to the Spurs News Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Stay up to date with all things Tottenham. Follow us on social media. All links are in the podcast description.